As a Westerner, we don't have a sense of what enlightenment means. We don't really have a sense of what bliss means. Those terms are foreign to our culture. As somebody who has been a seeker and a student and is now a scholar and a teacher, define for me first what bliss can mean to a Westerner, and secondly what enlightenment can mean to a Westerner, if you don't mind.
Oh, those are great questions, and I don't think I've heard those questions before. Bliss is going to be, it's more of a gateway than a place. It's an aperture that opens to the degree you're open to receive bliss, you'll receive it. And I think a better word, but in the English language we have one word called love that describes many things. If you go into Spanish you have a little more leeway with it. But in the United States, love tends to be focused on the romantic or kind of the interpersonal, certainly, expression of love. But there's something that is shared with another human being that when it's felt, we call it love. I call that spirit. When the energy, the life force, and expression of the divine moves through somebody, through thought, word, or action, to another, and it is felt, that what we feel, that connection we make with the other person, I think love is the word we would use to describe that. We don't often think of it as spirit, because we don't think of ourselves as spirit either. And when we all do start thinking of ourselves as spirit, we'll have entered into the kingdom of heaven that lies within us, you see. So that's how the prophecy is being fulfilled. And the example, really, for most people in the West is Jesus Christ. I mean, there's a guy that lived it. Me and my Father are one. He's telling us the way. It's not something, it isn't Hinduism or Christianity. It isn't divisive at all. They're pointing to the same thing. We have an example. We have a place to go. We have a refuge, too, if you want it. But bliss, then, is to the extent that you feel that living presence of God. It's where you feel a sense of love, and that love can be as little as the inclination to have some more of it, whatever that is, that felt good. I'm more peaceful, I'm more relaxed. It can go into a place where you just feel something shifted in you, and now there's a greater sense of clarity, happiness, and peace. And then it gets to this point where you think you may have gotten stoned, like smoked some pot or dropped some acid or something. It becomes very, very powerful. And it'll get to the point where there's really no one having the experience of it again, but at that point you can't describe it. So when we're talking about bliss, which is usually associated with your other part of your question, enlightenment, it really isn't a place itself that has one definition in my mind. It's like realization itself. Enlightenment is the ending of ignorance. See, ignorance had no beginning, but it does have an end. Realization has no end, but it does have a beginning. And so when you enter into an enlightened state, its profundity continues to expand to the degree that the mind and body can comprehend it, which it never can anyway. It's just an unfoldment of the wondrous madness, which is love itself, which is life itself.
That's great.